What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Ham Radio Crash Course. Welcome to Saturday. Thanks so much for clicking on this link and watching us as we go and do a little experimentation with some HTs today. Got a couple of comments. Actually, this came from a Facebook post on... It would be really nice if we could just kind of have a video on testing HTs and actually running it through some battery of testing. And I'll explain what that all is in a second. But it sounded like a lot of fun. And why not try and do it live in the hilariousness that always comes up when I do things live. So we'll get started soon. Enjoy the memes. Thanks for coming out. Felix Farquharson, what are the rules of love for ham radio operators? Good question. Sounds like something we should talk about on the podcast. All right, let's get it going here, guys. Appreciate you coming out. All right, how's it going, everybody? I'm Josh, KI6NAZ. Thanks for clicking on the Ham Radio Crash Course. I'm showing off my Huntsville shirt, and yes, it's a bit green screeny, but did want to show it off here for the Huntsville Ham Fest. It was last week. Wow, what an amazing time that was. That is one of those perfect little shows that you can get a whole lot in a couple of days and have a real fun time with it. Right attached to the hotel. Beautiful spot. My understanding is the hotel's already booked for 2022, so wow. Andrew V with the super chat. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Guys, I will be taking your questions while we do the live testing, so just keep that in mind. And it is going to be a bit of a audience involvement with the quality of the audio. That's going to come down to what you guys think, and we're going to use a rating scale to do that. Whipbone says it's Nathan, aka VO2NC. Love your videos, Josh. I'll be in the Discord after chat. Hey, speaking about the after chat, we're going to meet on Discord after the show. I will be live on Twitch at that point, and we'll take your questions live. So if you've got ham radio questions, anything like that, make sure you go check that out. I promoted you on my stream. Hey, the Gaming Ham. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Okay, so what are we talking about? Well, we're gonna have some fun with HTs. I think there are. We'll get into it a little bit more. I think people get a little tied up sometimes in power output, speaker output, all the little things that go into receiver capabilities, all the little things that go into how good of an HT performs and functions. And so that's what we're going to be talking about, and hopefully explain a little bit about how you can do this yourself and potentially take some of this equipment into a store, maybe, if you were to go to an HRO and try out your radios that way. So, yeah. Very good, very good. Okay, let's go ahead and flip it over here. Just want to remind everybody, the hamradiocrashcourse.com website is where you can go find out about what we're up to, including our podcast. And do make sure you go check that out. It is the podcast I do once a week with my wife. This week, we did not actually breach the 4-hour mark, so for some of you, that may be good news. And, of course, go check out hamtactical.com, the home of the merch store for the Ham Radio Crash Course. You can still get your Huntsville shirt if you want to, or the beautiful 1X Crew shirt. Again, shout out to the podcast and everybody out there that listens. Really do appreciate it. I do want to share a video that was sent to me, and I think this is a great little video, so I hope you enjoy it. This is someone working a ham radio contact on 2 meters. Well, You'll get it in a second. Over the ISS. Let's watch.
This is KE8ORQ, Echo Mike 89. Good morning, QSL.
That's Doug.
Echo Mike 59, this is KE8ORQ, Echo Mike 89, QSL. This is KE8ORQ, Echo Mike 89, QSL.
Say again your call.
This is KE8ORQ, Echo Mike 89.
Kilo Echo 8, Oscar Romeo Quebec, QSL. This is KD9RDO, Kilo Delta 9, Romeo Delta.
Look at the smile at the end here.
QSL, thank you, 73s.
Whiskey Bravo number 9, Bravo, Whiskey Bravo.
I love it.
Good job.
I got it.
Yes, you did.
Third day in a row.
Yeah.
God bless the ISS.
Beautiful video. Okay, so that was Doug, K-E-8-O-R-Q, and you could see how happy he was at the end of that. Yes, there is a amateur radio crossband repeater on the ISS, and he was making a contact using his, looked like a Boafeng and his Abri antenna, and so he wanted to share, and I thought that was very, very cool. Yeah, he was doing very good on that one. So yeah, shout out to Doug on that. Thanks, Doug, for sharing really, really great stuff. Okay, that was, yeah, I got real excited when I saw that video. He's so happy, and it was just super cool. All right, so what's going on? Well, we're going to do a little bit of HT testing, my style, which is fairly simple because we do have a, well, I'll just show you. I'll just show you right now. We got a fair bit of HTs we're going to take a look at here today, so stick with me on this, guys. Okay, so HT testing could mean lots of things to many people, and in fact, I may be able to adjust this on the fly if we do get some questions pertaining to specifics about any one radio. But here's a little bit about what we want to do. We want to test the output power. Does it meet the as stated output power? And we want to test its receive capability. We want to test the speaker audio, and that's where you come in. I'm going to, by the way, this is all going to be A to A comparison, right? That we're going to create a uniform environment where we can test these HTs against. So we're not going to be using their rubber duck antennas. We're going to be using dummy loads. We're going to be using station antennas that are static and are going to be used for every radio for consistency purposes. And then we're going to check out the I/O. This is a subjective point. Size, weight, you get the idea. How we're going to test this. Okay, so for the transmit test, we're going to use a VHF UHF power meter. That power meter, when you key up, is going to give you what the power output is for the radio. That's how this works. And let's see here. Why is that there? Good enough. Okay. And then we're going to also use an SDR, and that SDR is going to give us signal to noise ratio. I will be tracking all this information while we're taking the test or while we're running through it, so we can kind of have something we can look back on it, hopefully at the end of the episode, and go, hey, this is like the best performing radio out of the whole bunch. And again, this was a Facebook post that was placed on the Ham Radio Crash Course Facebook. The link is in the description, so you can check that out. But the idea is, boy, all these radios these days, and many of the ones I have here, have these great features, so many cool things they do, but how good are they at actually being a radio? And so that's what we're going to put to the test a little bit. We're going to do a receive test with my IC705. It's going to be playing a recording of my voice, basically saying, you know, ham radio test KI6NAZ, and it'll be into a dummy load, and then we're going to be using a external antenna, and we're going to see, because not all radios are created equal. Some of them have S meters, some of them do not. And then with that said, we're going to be able to capture if it has a signal strength receive reading. We'll capture that, as well as you'll hear the audio, and you can decide how it sounds. And this is all subjective to a point, but I think it's a good way of giving it a go. So let's go ahead and throw this over here. This is what we're looking at, and just to make this, I know all of you are probably thinking to yourself, you got this many HTs in one room. How are they not falling over? Well, I'll take care of that right now. Okay, there you go. Now we can move on and start to get to some work here. So appreciate everybody coming out just for that alone. Let's go over here. I got to clear the space so that I can see my SDR, which we're going to be using for audio output. Anybody who's ever like ran an Abri antenna or a signal stick, less so much the signal stick, but an Abri antenna, that thing just flops and just knocks everything over. So it's good to just get that out of the way right up front. So okay, what we're gonna do? Let me show this again. All right, so this is my SDR. What is an SDR? It's a software-defined radio. This is particularly a receiver. It doesn't transmit. So what I can do is I can turn this on 146.400 megahertz, and we can transmit into it, and we can get a reading of how strong a signal is received. And there's an actually SNR in dB value right there that we're going to keep track of. Someone says no Kenwood D74. yep, I don't own a Kenwood D74, so I'm sorry, I can't put that through any testing. So sorry about that. I apologize. And you've got two videos above that we'll be able to watch as I go through all of this. So, with that said, we should be able to move on and try it. Okay? Let me show you what this looks like, and you'll get a better idea. Yeah, indeed, the D74 has kind of like become a unicorn radio. Those things go for heaps of money online if you even find one. Quite expensive. But I do have a D72. I have been waiting to knock those radios over all day. Okay, let me slide over here and we'll get started. In fact, I think I might just mute the audio. I don't think you need to hear. Yeah, you don't need to hear the SDR. We're just looking for the spike. So we'll see. Let me slide over. Alrighty. We're going to be capturing everything on my iPad here. I have a spreadsheet that is going to track radio output, SNR, viewable output if the radio has an S meter, and a speaker performance, which I'll be holding it up to the microphone in most cases to do the receive test. So let me show you what it looks like. We're going to go through and do the power output test first. So I will grab the dummy load line here, the feed line. Took quite a lot of wire routing to make this all work, so appreciate you guys bearing with me as I snake everything over the place to get it to where it needs to be. Okay, so this is my dummy load line, which you should be able to see on camera now. And let's just start with, we're going to have to do these guys over here because these are 70 centimeter only. So we'll start with the humble Boafeng. I am using charged batteries in this case. So we're on 146,400. And how we're going to do this quite simply is I'm going to attach the power meter. So power meter has a transmit side and an antenna side. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah. So this is the transmit side. Oh, nope, did that wrong. Got to make sure you do that right. Antenna side first. And then we are going to... Oh, I've got the wrong adapter. Of course I do. No big deal. That's why we have a boatload of connectors, right? But no problem. Just keep in mind that whatever we apply to one, we're applying to all. So we're not going to miss out on any losses or whatever because everybody's getting applied the same effect. So if I need to use an adapter, they're all going to have an adapter of some kind to make this work. So we should be good. The gaming ham. Good question. Ask quick, stupid question. How can you give an accurate radio report as a new ham? So this radio doesn't have an S meter, right? It doesn't tell you the power output, but others do. A lot of the other ones here that are all lying around will tell you the power output. And that's generally what you give them. You give them how strong of an S reading they are to you. That's how you do it. For HF radio, it gets a little bit easier because you can just look at your S meter because they all have S meters, and you can make it happen that way. Or if you're on a repeater, sometimes what you can say is, you're full quieting. You're full quieting the repeater, which is what a lot of people aim to do. All right, so first test, see all those HTs are getting knocked over. We're going to connect in the Boafeng, and we should see the SDR here key up. And there it is with an SNR of 24.5 dB and a power output of, let's do that again, a little over 5 watts. So that's this line right here. In fact, let me enhance it for you. We're looking right here, okay? Watch. Kilo India 6, November Alpha Zulu, radio test. Now I'm going into a dummy load, but I'm going to do that just so I'm following the letter of the law here as far as my radio operation is concerned. So there you go. Okay, so again, that was 21.6 dB. You can see it there right below the S meter. So we're going to do Boafeng. Power output was, I'm going to call it 5.2 watts, and it was, let's do that SNR again because I totally forgot. Oh, sorry, that's 33.7. See, I'm glad I did it. Okay, so that's the first step. This is the transmit side of the test. We're going to run through all these radios, and then we're going to come back and do a receive test. So we'll go ahead and take this off. Why not go to the opposite end now of a radio? We're going to go to the Yaesu FT2DR here. Yeah, I thought having just a random pile of radios would be a lot of fun. So here we go. Same setup, right? You're looking here, and you're also looking at the screen over there, the SNR display. So let's go. Little bit under 5 watts. These radios are all charged, and it is 23.8 dB. And for the sake of it, I will make sure we are, in fact, in high power there, so everybody can tell we're high power. So I'll give that a 4.8. 4.8 watt. Oop. And what was that SNR rating again? 31.7. Okay. K1MAZ. Nathan is saying he doesn't know what I'm actually doing out here. Where did I put that Boafeng? There you go. Go over there, Boafeng. Okay, what's next? Let's go with another Boafeng. Oh, no, you know what? Since I have another BNC connector, I'll do that right now. Okay, so this is a Kenwood TH-F6. This is my pretty much one of my favorite daily drivers. It is a nice little tri-band radio, and I use it mostly for doing WinLink and other fun stuff. But let's see how it does on power output. So again, we're keeping an eye right here. And it's about 5 watts and 27.4 dB. Okay, so for everybody who's just logged in or just coming on, I am testing the output power of these radios, and we're testing in 2 ways. We are testing it with an MFJ power meter, which is not test equipment. I admit this is freely not test equipment. This is just a cheap device that you can use. But we're going into a dummy load so that there's no issues with the impedances of the radio or anything like that. We're going into a 50 watt or a 50 ohm dummy load, and we're also taking an SNR reading, signal to noise ratio reading, from a static antenna into my SDR Play RSP1. So for me, that felt like a pretty good way of getting 2 pieces of input when it comes to its output. So some radios are going to have a higher output, like this guy right here, this Wouxun. So we're going to test that right now. And I am going to reuse this BNC connector. For uniformity. Whoa, buddy. See, there's going to be radios falling all over the place. Okay, next one, 146 on 146.400. Keep an eye on here. 10 watts and 28.2 SNR. Okay. Got to make sure you turn off all the radios after you do the test, because they can they can interfere a bit. Will it blend? Good question. I don't know, probably. We could probably blend a radio someday. We got another Boafeng. This is my first Boafeng. right here. Let's test and see how Boafeng from what was this, 2015? Let's see how this guy does. Okay. Again, looking at the meter here for output. Oh, no. Oh, no, Boafeng. Oh, no. About 2.5. What's the SNR? 15.4. Ooh. Old Fang, we'll call that one. That was 2.5. I wish, actually, there is a way to record the SNR. 24.7. Okay. Old Fang. Not as good as the new Fang. Alright, oldie but good. Well, it's not really old either. But the Yaesu FT2DR. Ooh. Why though? The Fang did not age well, says N8YO. You are correct, sir. It did not age well. I don't know that anybody's surprised by that, are you? I'm not. What's going on here? Thread. There we go. Oh, and making an appearance is my FT60, but I found out recently that either the battery's bad or my charger's not working, so sadly, we're not going to be able to run with him. Sad day. This is my first ham radio. I'll have to figure out what's going on with it. Okay. Watching again here. I got this connected up. Watch here. Little under 5 watts. I would give that a 4 watt. 21.3 dB. Okay. Moving right along. Hey, there you go. Scott picked up a VX8G at an estate sale. That's pretty smoking. Oh! Radio's constantly falling over. That's going to be the topic. That's definitely going to be a lot of that going on today. All right, so now we're going to this. I'm just going to call it APRS radio because I can't remember what it is. It's a Kg-UV82 something or other. Oh, wrong one. Jeez. That's the one downside of doing this is that you're just all you're doing is searching for adapters constantly to make this work. Let me grab this guy. All right. Yeah, I don't think Leia knew how I got that. She was not a part of that whole touch lamp thing that happened when I was in Huntsville. I do want to believe that. I don't think she was behind it. But I will note that like every lamp in that room was a touch lamp, which was very frustrating. Okay, here we go with the KG or the UG or the 8 something or other 82. Keep an eye right here. A little under 5 watts. 4 watts is what I would say. 4 watts in an SNR of 29.2. All right, here's one. I bet you guys want to know how well this one does. This is the Kenwood TH-D72, which is a fantastic radio for you guys who like to do FM satellites. This is the only, really the only full duplex, no questions asked radio that still highly sought after, produced by Japanese manufacturers. Fantastic radio. Really great. Maybe Leia is a part of the scheme to get touch lamps in my room at Huntsville Hamfest. Okay, 146.400. All right, keep an eye right here. Oop, something's still on. There we go. That is just over 5. Oh, I got this guy on still. Bye-bye. I'd give that a 5.1. And what was the SNR? 21.22. 22 even. Okay. All right. Running down to some of the last ones. These guys. This is a Yaesu VX3. We're kind of getting into the radios that are unobtainium. You can't really get these guys anymore. Just a reminder for everybody watching too, we will be live on the Discord after chat. So if you're interested, take the link in the description. That'll take you to our Discord. So if you have radio questions, you can ask us there. That's the right way to do it. But I'll try to do some live, too, if it's kind of aligned with the... Oh, I forgot to set the frequency. This is how you do it. Oh. Try that again. There we go. No keypad on this guy. Tiny radio. Just an absolute little tiny baby. And it's going to have a... Let me make sure the power output is on high. This one is... There we go. Okay. This is barely going to move the needle, I think. So get ready. Let's make sure you can see that. You can see it now. There we go. What is that? 2.5. 2.5. With an SNR of 15.17. So better, about the same performance as my my old Fang. Okay. Christopher Smith says, so if I'm going to go CB, I'm going to have to go get myself a bird watt meter. That's the next step. To do this a little bit better, more accurately, we'd need to invest in a bird watt meter, which are fantastic watt meters, but not something I have on hand. All right, so for the last two radios, before we switch things over, oh no, you know what? We got one more. I take it back. The Anytone is 2 meters. Thank you for the super chat. Digital Analog Ham says, you would love the Kenwood TH-D74 better than the ID52. Wow. I feel like they're kind of different radios in some cases, though, wouldn't you say? Okay. Well, I guess they both do D-Star, so. All right, so here's the Anytone. Oh. What do we got there? Not good. What was that, 3? 3 watts. That was charged. Maybe it didn't charge. I'm a little worried about that one. That doesn't seem right. We may have to come back to that one. And what was the output? 21.4. I think we might have a... That one might not be right. We'll have to come back to that. All right, new radio on the scene. The Radioddity GD-AT10G, which, I mean, looks a whole heck of a lot like the Anytone we just looked at. This is 70 centimeters only, though, along with my Kenwood, or sorry, my ICOM ID31. I don't have an ID51 or obviously 52 to test with, but figured might as well do it because I do like both those radios. So let's turn it on. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. Appreciate you coming out. All right. What do we need here? Oh, there we go. I wonder if that Anytone adapter is the same. I bet you it is. Okay, this is the Radioddity, right? Is that what they call it? No, I'm just kidding. It's the Radioddity. All right, looking at the meter again. Ooh. Just at 5 watts. 5 watts on the dot. Cruz Giles, thank you for the super chat. K8XG, thank you for the super chat. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for supporting the show. That's a solid 5. And what was that SNR reading? Why is there no SNR reading? Oh, duh. Because I'm not on 70 centimeters. I forgot, guys. Hold on. Okay, hold on. I gotta set this one up. Okay, there we go. Easy enough to flip, though. So if you go over to your SDR, 446000. Now, what do we got? There it is. 30.6 dB for SNR. Now, tragically, I don't think I know where my battery charger is for my for my ICOM here. Doing it live, Chris. Chris Watt admin extraordinaire is in the chat. Thanks for watching. QRP versus insulin pump. Who wins? We'll talk about that at the end. I have been getting a lot of messages on that, and I can say a couple of things, and then that's probably where I'll leave it. Okay. ID31 here. 3 watts. 3 watt output. Now, I think that that's because this is on lower battery, and that is my fault. I have misplaced its charger. 22.7. Okay. Okay, so did I get everything? I think I got the ones I wanted to run, because we got to flip this over, and we're going to do this in reverse now. But before that, let me take a quick break. Well, by break, I mean come back over here. And I'll have a quick moment to talk about the insulin pump, since people are asking about it. Yeah, I was going to do a video on the insulin pumps, and I ended up reaching out to the ham in question, the ARRL. I reached out to the company that makes the insulin pumps. I found out a lot of information. Well, no, let me take that back. found out some things, but we don't really know enough about this yet. And I know there's a lot of people who've made videos, and I'm not saying anything negative about that. We just don't know enough for me to come forward and make a statement on, because it would just be speculation. And so I would just be adding to the ambient noise floor of just people talking and not having the real answers. Even the ham in question that has turned off his transmitter is working with the ARRL. They've been in contact. They are working together. They are trying to gather information so that they can have an accurate response to this. But until we know more, I felt like adding my voice into that would have just made things more complicated, made things muddier. So I likely will be doing a video on this topic, but it will have to wait until we get to the point where we know more. All right, so how do we want to do this next part? This next part's going to be pretty straightforward, but it's also going to be fun, hopefully. So let's flip it back over to the desk here. And I think we can do away with... We don't need the SDR anymore. So let's go ahead and go to the overhead desk. There we go. Cool, cool, cool. Let's get things... You know what? Actually, why don't I do this? Desk wide. I like it. Let's put that desk wide shot right there. There we go. Right over my head, because I'm going to be out of the shot here. So, like that. Okay, so now you can see what's going on, because we're going to flip things around, and the 705 is going to get involved in this whole process. So that's going to be fun too. All right, so what I'm doing, and again, I'm going into a dummy load. I want to make sure everybody understands I'm going into a dummy load, so I'm not transmitting without giving my call, although I am doing that occasionally. I have an antenna for my roof, which is right here. This is the dummy load. So I'm going to take the BNC connector. Okay, into the 705. And you can see that here. There's my 705. Boop boop. And here is my external antenna. So if I put the radio right here, come on. If I put the radio right here and we set the volume, so if it's a maximum of 40, so let's take that down to 75%, which is about 30. We'll change the frequency here to 446. And just to give you reference,
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
that's what it sounds like, but I'm going to turn that down. And what mode is this in? I don't even hear it. What's going on here? Oh, because it's not switching to a dB. That's not good. Let's switch this guy over. Oh, duh. Sorry about that. It helps if it's in FM. All right, let's try that again. Here's the audio at 75% for the radiodity.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
Now, I can do this at 100%, which is going to be quite loud.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
All right, so the radiodity, pretty loud. What would you guys, if you were to rank that on a scale of 1 to 5? This is the subjective part, and I'm going to look at the chat. So we're going to go with the radiodity first for its tone and speaker performance. 1 through 5. What would you rate it? And I am looking at the chat. Because I'm going to put it into my iPad here. A 2 for the radiodity? No way. The radiodity. Okay, well here, let me get it. Maybe the mic wasn't close enough. So let me do that test again. Ready?
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
So what do you think about that? I'm looking at the chat. Yes, I am, Uncle Slam. What do you think? 4.8, 4, yeah, I would assume that actually the Anytones and the Radiodity is probably going to be the loudest of the performing speakers. And you're also looking for quality, so it's performance in general. I would give it, I think 4 is accurate. I would say 4 as well. That feels good to me. All right, let's switch it back over to the ICOM now. Now that we got that sorted out. Okay, so that means that guy's done. Complete. Finito. And I will move. Here we go. And we are at 100%.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
Sorry, I'm going to have to do that again.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
Note, I'm holding the radio the same distance away I am for all of these so that there'll be a somewhat of a standard, as uniform as possible. 1 through 5 on the ID31. Three, 3.5, 3. Three. Yeah, I'm going to go with 3, too. I concur. Somebody asked if I have it on turbo. No, I didn't. We can actually go back and make sure I put it into turbo mode. Also, something to note. Okay. This has an S meter. So this is actually a good representation of how an S meter will look when it receives signal. So let me do that recording again.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu radio test,
See it?
radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
So part of the reason why I have this set up this way is so that we can get both a reading on the output, which I'm putting that at just full. That was a full receiver reading. It picked it up at full quieting, basically, is what we call that. Now, this is just loud enough. The way I have this set up should be just loud enough that if a receiver on one of these radios is not a very good performer, it will overload. We should just be right at that benchmark. So if any of these other radios get to that point, we should get an actual audible display of clipping or some kind of other effect that we'll be listening for. The Anytone did not have a S meter, so I'm going to put that as NA on this one. Okay. All right, now we can switch back to 2 meters. All right. Okay, this is Anytone number. So this is the Anytone. We did the radiodity just a second ago. So you can see that. Wow. The old logo. All right, we're going to play the recording. Again, playing on a dummy load, so nobody at me. Something's still on. Where is the on radio? Okay, why didn't it play? 146. Oh, this is because it's stuck in digital mode. We'll have to come back to this one. This is in digital mode. I think this is one of the older Anytone firmwares, and I don't know that I have the capability to change this without a program update. So that one might be a problem. We'll have to come back to that. Took me a lot of time to like program all this stuff. Not program, but I mean pull out all my radios and get them linked up and charged. Hey, Paul, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to go to my tiny Yaesu next. Okay, so this is how you change the volume on this bad boy. For those of you that were wondering, you hold down the volume and you just go all the way up. This is going to be the worst performer most likely because it's so tiny. All right, I've got it just a little bit away from the microphone. Here we go.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, radio test, Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
Whoa, what was that? So that's that overloading we talked about. So that is some front end overload. Let's see that again on the radio itself. I'm going to replay it and you can see it. See, can you get the screen? Okay, there we go. I'll hold it just so you can see it. Okay, ready? Full quiet. Yeah, that was real buzzy. 0.5 for the Yaesu. All right, it is like one of my favorite my favorite radios. But yeah, 0.5 because it did sound like it had it was affected by the audio, the RF coming in. Oh, absolutely. No, yeah. So Evans in the chat says tiny speaker though, got to keep that in mind. Yeah, absolutely, guys. This is we're just doing straight numbers, right? We'll put the size. I'll be doing a size comparison next because we've got 15 minutes to go. We should be able to clear that up and then get to a size and look at features in a second. Okay, but yeah, keep in mind it is an incredibly tiny radio. Not like this Chungus. This is a big boy. That's a huge boy. The TH-D72. Which is a great radio, but still. So we're going to go full. Yeah, we should be full. Here is the mic. About the right length. Here we go.
Radio test, Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
Ooh. Let's make sure I got that. Let's do that again.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, radio test, Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
Not great. Not great either, huh? Now that had a screen and it was full. Got a 1. I'd go with a 1. It had a full display. So it does show a bar here, which I can show you. See how there's no signal, right? No signal. Play the recording. Buzzy, buzzy, buzzy. Now, it's possible, too, we need to keep this in mind, that we were going from UHF to VHF now. And so there will be a bit of a difference. Those first two radios we reviewed were UHF only. With that said, the Anytone did a pretty good job with it. All right, here's the Wouxun MATE. And we'll go full speaker, full blast, all the way. Here's the recording play.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, radio test, Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
What do you think of that? That was better. That was arguably much better. A 4. 4's probably on the high side for me. 2, 3, I think 3. The orange dreamsicle, yeah. 3 or 4. Let's just split the difference and go 3.5. It had a full audio display on the receive side. It did not get too overloaded, which is what you want. All right, le lounge. All right, here comes the audio. Full speaker output here.
Frequency mode.
Whoa, that's a loud boy. Here we go. Yikes. Let's do that again. I might have been off. Hold on. So it's possible too we're just overdriving the speaker significantly, because if we I don't have there's no readout. There's no readout to the screen that says like 75% or whatever. So I'm just gonna go all the way up and then I'm gonna dial it back a couple of turns. See, that's much better. So this is a comment is needed here that while it can go higher, you really shouldn't. You shouldn't ever go 100% on this guy. I would give it a 1 on speaker quality, and really note that keep it at 75%, because yeah, that's just way overblown. Which, to be honest, I'm not totally surprised that we're seeing that. It's a thing. Covane, where's a good place for those BNC connectors? Link should be in the description to Signal Stick, to my affiliate link. They have really nice adapters. Okay. FT2DR. Here we go.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
Hold on.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
That is 100%. I will dial this back to 75 and let you hear it again.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
2.5. Yeah, if you remember the Yaesus, both the FT2DR and the FT3DR, did get a lot of comments, complaints too, on the quality of the speaker. Yeah, it's on the small side. It is, but it's got a lot going on with it, so I don't really fault it for that. Okay. Nice thing, the FT2DR does have a full display for output. And it is, what do we say? 3? No. 3? 2.5, I think. 2.5. Yeah, I think that's fair. Well, just to do a comparison right after the FT2 so you can hear the difference, let's go right to the FT3. Okay, FT3DR.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu,
100%.
radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
Louder. Let me go to the 75 setting. 75%.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
Now, I'm going to do the hack, the secret of the FT3DR. I'm going to open the rubber door. Now listen.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
And we'll crank up the volume all the way back to 100 and do it again.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
And you get a full display on
Kilo India 6
the
November
meter.
Alpha Zulu, radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
Okay. Get some of these used radios that I've completed out of the way. FT2DR had a full meter, which it should have. Everybody says, what do you think on the 3DR? 3.5 to 4? The hum is going to be a little bit universal for all of them, but really it's going to be the quality of the audio, my voice that's coming through. What's the hack? Everybody wants to know what the hack is for the FT2DR? You open the rubber door. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's the hack. Yeah, I'm trying to reduce the hum by going to an external antenna, and it seems like that's actually becoming part of it, the test in its own right, which I think is good. Let me see if that's a bit different. Let's see. There we go. See if we can get rid of that hum.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
Yeah, a little bit better. I of the mindset that should be 3.5 or 4. Personally. Okay, let's get into some Boafengs. There's HTs all over the place here. It's pretty funny. Okay, Boafeng. BFF8HP. Here we go. All the way. Volume up, right in front of the mic.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
Do that again. Not great. Somebody is obviously local to me because they're keying on my frequency. No display. No S-meter display. Somebody's kerchunking the repeater. Well, if you're going to be out there, that's cool. Just be nice. All right. Another Boafeng. This is just a UV5R. What do we think on the BFF8HP? 2, 2.5, 2.5? Yeah. Yeah.
Frequency mode.
Okay. Here we go.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
That's actually better than the BFF8HP. Just the standard UV5R was pretty good. That was actually really good. I would put that, I mean, being in the same room, like a 4. Yeah, that was actually pretty good. I gotta say, that was pretty good. Yeah, Boafeng UV5R, man. Sometimes, if you just want a radio-ass radio, that's it. Sometimes. How about my old Feng, though? So, yeah, you can go buy yourself a Boafeng for whatever dollars, but here's one that's from 2015. Let's see how it sounds, or still sounds. I have a feeling the shelf life on these bad boys is not, not good.
Frequency mode.
Okay, so here we go. Boafeng Fang, right into the speaker. Close to the speaker.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
Wow, I actually think that was... It was louder. It was louder, but very tinny. Very tinny. That was quite interesting. That was not bad. Yeah, surprise. So it's very tinny. It's like make your ears bleed tinny, and hopefully that came through on the speaker on the microphone for you. But that was better than I expected. Yes, I know you're on the frequency. I know. I'll just turn the radio off. It's okay. I don't have to listen to you. All right, let's see. Last one, and then we'll do a size compare. One of my favorites, the Kenwood. The Kenwood's a great radio because it is super wideband receive, so that's very, very handy. That Boafeng, though, surprising. The old Fang was good. The old Fang was NA on the meter, but I would give it a solid 4 on performance, but I hated the tinniness, if that makes sense. Oh, there's a wild adapter. This Kenwood is, yeah, it's no joke. It's a great radio. All right, we're going full volume. Here we go.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
Wow, that's not good. Let's dial it back 75%, do it again.
Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu, radio test. Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu.
Not great. That has a full meter. I would give that a 3. Yeah, I think everybody's on board with a 3. What did we miss? Did I miss anything? D72 was full meter. Kind of not great speaker. I think that was a 3.5, if I remember correctly. The Anytone did well. Didn't the Anytone was like 4? I think it was 4. Okay, so our standings here, as of right now, are as follows. I don't have this ranked yet, but... So as far as audio quality goes... Hold on, there's so many HDs, I gotta clear some space. Let me get the antenna out of here. Get out of here! Alright, so... The best so far have been the Anytones, the Radioddity, my old Fang, and the regular Boafeng. I don't know, man. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right to me. For audio quality. Performance on output, though, the highest signal-to-noise ratio was on the, let's see, bring that back out. The FT2DR actually had a really high signal-to-noise ratio. The APRS Launch ONL had a high one. The Radioddity, the Anytone. No, actually, just the Radioddity. Interesting. Wow, I didn't expect some of that. Okay, let's give you a size comparison here so you can get a better understanding of the... We're going to have to do this in parts, I think. In fact, let me get my iPad out of here. I think we're good for now on that. I'm going to use my trout towel. Check out my trout towel. Look at that. Let's get that in the frame here. Oh, boy. I need to get this higher up. Yeah, we're going to have to do this in a couple parts. All right, so there's the collection number 1 shot. Oh, man, we already blew past the hour. There's the shot of... Oh, let me kick this guy. catch up on the chats if I miss any. If the Anytone is in digital on output, you're only getting... Yeah, because it's 50%. Yeah, the problem with the... we did the audio for the Anytone. The problem with the Anytone is, at least for the firmware version I have, I think I have to be on the CPS software to actually set it to a frequency for transmit. I guess I do have simplex loaded. I think I might have 2-meter simplex loaded. We may have to rerun that one again. Yeah, Lord Memes, that audio test was also a sensitivity test. It was at the point where it was clipping the speaker. So that buzzing and the RF power and the kind of close proximity, you saw that in effect with the buzzing that was much louder with some of the radios, to the point that some of them were just completely like that. My tiny Yaesu, which is this guy, hold on. This guy was extremely affected. My tiny. So the Yaesu, beautiful little radio to carry around because it's tiny. But if you took that to a ham fest, it's possible they could get overloaded pretty easily, from my point of view. Let's swap them out. Which ones are next? I'm going to take out the Radiodity, and I'm going to put in the Wouxun and the Anytone. And I'll throw a wild Boafeng in there too for size. The best radio on the table won't get tested. Is it the FT60? Yeah, I'm bummed out. Oddly enough, I wonder if it's got enough juice for just a receiver test. Let me see. I'm bummed about this one. Oh. I think we can do a receiver test. Let's do it. Let's see if it'll work. Yeah, what the heck. Here we go. We're going to test the FT60. I'm glad we can do this. This one's one of my favorite radios. Okay. Who's going to donate a BNC adapter? Here we go. I hope this thing doesn't just die the second it starts receiving. Alrighty. Okay. Equal distance from the mic as everyone else.
Kilo India 6, November Alpha Zulu, radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6, November Alpha Zulu.
Best one for sure. Best sounding speaker.
Kilo India 6, November Alpha Zulu, radio test, radio test, radio test. Kilo India 6, November Alpha Zulu.
Yeah, no question. So when everybody asks me, hey Josh, why do you always say that the FT60 has the best front end in an HT? Well, that's why. That's exactly what. That's exactly why. Do you hear how good that audio sounds and very little buzzing? That's why. That's why. So if you just want a radio, the Yaesu FT60 is still hard to beat. It's a good radio. Yeah, great tone. I think it sounds like me versus with the Anytones and the Radiodity is a bit tinny, right? A bit tinny. Well, sorry, no, they were okay. My Boafeng, that old Fang, bit tinny, right? Yeah, okay. Yaesu FT4X. I gave mine away. When I did the review of it, I gave it away to I picked a patron, and we gave it away to them. So I'm sorry I didn't have an FT4X or an FT70. I don't have an FT70. I obviously also don't have an FT5X because that's not out yet, but didn't want to hold up the video waiting for that radio to show up. I will do a comparison. Woo, knocking everything off my desk. I will do a comparison of the audio against the FT2DX, the FT3, and the FT5 when it comes out. Scott, K0WAV, I agree. It's a good starter radio. My review of it, that's pretty much my words exactly. Yeah, so the FT60 on the table there, it obviously can copy, but when I try to transmit it, it conks out. So there could be something wrong with the battery pack. There could be something wrong with a myriad things. But I noticed when I plugged in my charger, the charging light no longer goes on. So it's possible that it could be the charger itself or the battery. Don't know yet. Actually, I hope it's the charger, because if it's going into the radio via the DC pin, then that's the charge control on the radio somewhere in the chain. That would be sad if that has malfunctioned in some way. All right. Well, let's any questions before I wrap things up here? Remember, we're going to Discord, so make sure you bring your questions over there too. All right. Oh, Leia's asking how much is on the bench. Nobody answer that question for her. Nobody answer that question, please. Oh, Uncle Sam, thanks so much for watching and the kind words. Thank you. Cruz, Giles, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate that. I got a new antenna too. It came in the mail. It was one that was mentioned on Huntsville. So I bet you can guess which one that is. There you go. Jeff N4POD. Nice to see you in person too, Jeff. Thanks for coming out and saying hi at Huntsville. He's got it. $35, honey. That's it. You must use an external charger for the FT60, not the radio with DC input. It was on the external charger, but that plug is DC. So that's what I mean by that. What do you think of the Wouxun? I really like the Wouxun, the orange boy there, the creamsicle, the dreamsicle as people are calling it. I did a review of that one too. Actually, I did a review of that one live. So that was all just going through all the bullet points of features of the radio. It's a good radio. It's one of those radios where, I mean, if you're looking at this table right now, right? You got an FT2. There's an FT3 somewhere. Oh, it's standing up now. Those are $300+ radios, and some of these are unobtainium, like that D72. That's easy $300 now, if not more. The Wouxun is $240, $260, somewhere in that space. K8XG, thank you for the super chat. N7MYW, Samus? Oh boy, I'm killing your, and I'm not gonna. Domnall. I apologize for butchering your name. Enjoy the podcast and vids. N7MYW. Hop into the Discord and tell me how to say your name correctly. So, what is the one HT to rule them all if you were forced to pick one? Oh. Okay, I'll do it live. I'll show you live. Here we go. I'm gonna pull away the ones that don't. So although I love this and it's super tiny, obviously it can't make the list. What do you guys think? I'm gonna pull it down to 3 and then we'll pick a winner. Not a Fang. One of my favorite radios, my first ham radio, but I'm sorry, no, because it's just a radio. It doesn't do anything else. I mean, you know what I mean. ID31's great. It's a nice size, but it's UHF only, and I'm more of a VHF guy. Anytones are great. I'm not the biggest fan of DMR, admittedly. I'll admit it. FT2, we're going to have to replace it with this guy. The Kenwood would be on the list because it's wide-banded, so is the Yaesu. The Kenwood D72 also makes the list because it's wide-banded. And the Wouxun gets in there because of the price point and its features, but ultimately I wouldn't do that if I could only have one. So it gets an honorable mention there. Okay. Of these 3, here's my dilemma. Okay, here's my dilemma. The FT2DR is a better APRS radio from a user standpoint of using it. The Kenwood is kind of like a do-it-your-all radio. But for the Kenwood to be effective, you need to kind of throw in the Moby link, right? It has to have the Moby link to do the TNC capability. Now the D72, however, full TNC, meaning you can connect it with a USB cable into your computer. It's full duplex, meaning it does something that none of the other radios on the table do, except for that Wouxun, but it's not 100% full duplex. No digital modes though, which for me is less of a concern. So just between those three radios, you got pretty much everything you want. The FT2DR is Yaesu System Fusion, Wires X, and APRS. The Kenwood, no digital modes, pure analog. It does, it's tri-band though, and wide receive. It will take a TNC, which is the Moby link. The D72 is a full TNC, meaning you can connect a computer to it, you can connect it, and you can do packet radio with it. Packet radio, not just APRS, packet radio. Works fine. It works in the KISS, KISS mode. No digital modes. APRS, however. So it's really hard to narrow this one down. If I was just doing WinLink, I really like the Moby link in the Kenwood, but I feel like I added $120 onto it to get it to do that. So I could just replace that functionality and just use the D72. So Kenwood, the THF6 has got to go out. So that leaves... Man, that's tough. That's tough. Here's my problem. Okay, here's my problem. The D72 has, I would argue, one of the worst batteries in an HT. It drains so fast. So fast. The FT2DR is a lot better to use. I do really like the FT3. But if I wanted full TNC capability for doing packet or APRS, the D72 is going to be the better radio. So for me, having owned both of these, and which is the one that I grab most of the time? Let's see. I think it's gonna be the Yaesu. I think it would be the Yaesu. Particularly if I was going outside, if I was going outdoors, doing that whole thing. If I was exclusively doing satellites, then of course I would go with the D72. There's no question. But I think I would have to go with the FT2DR. So there you go. We'll do a close-up shot. Wow. There you go. That's gonna be my answer. I think that's about as... And the situation would vary, but if I only had to have one, that would be it, I think. Yeah, and I've got Ethan in the chat is saying he had the D74 and ended up replacing it or only using the FT3 full-time. Oh, it can't Brie. Oh, that's it. You're right. Oh, and you know what? Neither can the D72, though. D72 can't Brie either, so. K8XG, that's a very good way of saying it. Yep, the FT3 can carry, meaning you can just take it with you everywhere and just use it. The TH-72 for all the things. It just does all the things. It's kind of like the it's kind of like the 705 of handhelds, the D72. That's my personal opinion. Hey, Matt Garcia, thank you for subscribing, becoming a member of the Hammer and Crash Course here on YouTube. Appreciate it. And Dan Hillner, thank you for the super chat, bud. I appreciate that. Okay, that's going to do it for me. Next week is patron pick. So if you're a patron, you have until tomorrow at the producer level to vote on the topic for next week. So you're just going to have to tune in and see what I end up talking about, which it should always be fun. Unless I fail, which it'll be fun for you, less for me. But Yeah, I think the one that's trending might be. I gotta go look at what's trending. I like to wait until. Was it a bug? It was a bug. I like to wait until the very end to see, which gets picked. I don't watch the votes. I try not to, so I don't second guess it. And Sam KN6NLJ, thank you for the super chat. He says, just got my general 2 weeks ago. Congratulations. Smash that radio, right there, buddy. There's a congratulations right there from the Hulk Hogan himself. All right. I'm going to wrap things up by saying a big thank you to the patrons. Maybe. There we go. Thank you very much, guys. I really do appreciate the support. This is a collection of radios that I've had since I became a ham, obviously. So that FT60 was my first radio. I'm glad at least we were able to do an audio test on it so I could show you. Also, then however many times I get asked, why is the FT60 so regarded for its front end? Well, did you notice that there was very little hum on that radio with the close proximity of my 705? In fact, so many times when you have a mobile radio, and I'm not saying do this, but a lot of people will duplex, meaning they will listen, they'll have a repeater, they'll have a radio on the same receive frequency as the repeater when they're transmitting on the mobile. Many, many people duplex with the FT60 because it's such a good radio. So keep that in mind. And yeah, so this has been literally, what is that? 15 years of HTs that I personally own. And these are the ones that I've stuck with. So built up a collection over the years. Yeah, no, James, I would love to test all the radios, but these are the ones I have right now. These are my favorite radios. So that's why I did the test with them. Yeah, 73 to everybody, and definitely join us on the Discord. What would be fun is if people come up with some ideas, things they want me to test in the Discord live. We'll be live on Twitch, Ham Radio Crash Course on Twitch, if you're not already following me over there. And so we'll take your questions and get you some answers, and hopefully have a whole lot of fun with the ham radios, as we always do. Hey, there's Vern. Shout out to Vern. I'm looking in here and seeing all the people's names. I'm trying to pull the people out that were at Huntsville. Appreciate that. All right, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Yeah, that's it. We'll give you a hearty 73s. Hope you join us on the Discord after chat, and I'll talk to you later. See ya. Oh, you know what? Let's meme it up. Enjoy some memes. Enjoy some memes. 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 That's one of my favorites, that household centipede. I figured out what that white box is. It means I've come to the end of the memes and it's recycling, or it's refreshing. So, that was frustrating.